Hi, I'm Jim Gary at Batillepe's Workshop. I've been continuing the renovation of my 25-year-old Workhorse chassis-based motorhome. Over a year ago, I did most of the interior work, but still have a lot of loose ends there. I installed bamboo countertops in the kitchen, bathroom, and bedside cabinets, but never permanently connected the kitchen countertop to the base cabinets, as I was unsure if I would need to remove it later for other work. And I never really planned ahead as to how I was going to connect the counter. And as you'll see, it turned out to be a can of worms because everything gets in the way of everything in a motorhome, especially in the kitchen, which I had modified quite a bit from its original configuration. I really wish I had thought through this step when I first fit the countertop to the base cabinets, as my lack of planning ahead will make it difficult, although not impossible, to remove the countertop if I need to in the future. If you're interested, there are links to my other videos in the description below, so please like and subscribe. Now, let's get on with the video. When I built a new kitchen, I removed the original refrigerator and modified the fridge cabinet into a base cabinet and then built drawers below it. So this base cabinet is deeper than the rest of the other base cabinets in the kitchen, so I had to make that part of the counter deeper. And you can see the piece I added by the stovetop to the right of this photo. I never permanently attached the countertop to the base cabinets because I wasn't sure when would be the best time to do that. So that's what I'm doing now in this video. So the first part was cutting and installing wooden plugs to fill the holes I drilled to attach that extra counter material. I use these plug cutters, which I've used many times in the past. And when I drilled the holes to put the screws in, I countersunk them with 3/8 inch drill so I could use this 3/8 inch plug cutter. It's way easier to do in a drill press. Now I'm using a scrap of wood that's also bamboo, and I'm going to align it with the grain of the current bamboo when I put it in, and you'll see that later. Let's try it and see. There's another one. Another one. And another one. So there's the 4 we needed. So let's go out in the RV and glue them in. I accidentally had the camera set in time warp mode and I can't undo it, so sorry for this. So what I'm going to do now is cut off the plugs. It's been a few days, so they're good and dry. And I've got a card stock just so I don't screw too much stuff up. I'm just going to cut them close off with this flush cut saw. Okay, so now I've got a chisel I'm going to come back along with. There, that's nice. I didn't want to take it off just with the chisel at first because I was afraid it would somehow gouge into the wood or cause the wood to splinter. I brought my sander out and I'm just going to sand the front edge, kind of clean everything up. I've got 120 on here now and I'll finish it up with 240. There's still a little blemish there, but I don't want to sand that far in. So that was my 240. And I don't know if you've seen these before, but you can buy Velcro pads that replace the clamp system. So normally you have to use these clamps to clamp sandpaper on. But with this one, I replaced it with this Velcro piece. You just set them right on and you can sand away and you don't have to worry about these stupid clamps. I hated those clamps. And I'm just going to put a little tung oil finish on it for now. There we go. Just a light finish for now. So here's the counter again, and I took the drawer out below it because I've got to be able to get screws up along there and along here underneath to screw in the counter. And I had a real problem because I'd forgotten what I'd done. The gas line comes in, you can see it right there. So I've got to disconnect the gas line and get the stovetop out of here, because underneath there is a tray that I very cleverly built in, and that tray is on a nothing can drip into the drawer below, and also it'll shield the heat. I put this tray in before I put the countertop on, and the way I attach it is it's sitting on a piece of plywood underneath it, and then I built these metal clips which I then screwed down to that plywood. I need to get the tray out, and I can't reach the screws back here anymore. But I can bend the clips, and I can bend them back again later, so I'm just going to get these bent back without tearing my hands up. There we go. Now, whether or not I'll be able to get it out or not, I don't know. Now, I did this quite a while ago, probably over a year ago. I forgot I'd used double stick tape. So I have to replace that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of L brackets that will attach to the counter here with the screws going up, and then it's going to attach to this side. So it's going to be a 2 inches tall, 1.5 inches out. And I was hoping I could get this drill in. And I have these stubby drill bits, but I don't know if it's stubby enough. It's 5/32, which I know will work with the screws I'm going to use. But see, it's not going to be short enough. So I'm going to take another 5/32 bit from that I'll find an old one, and I'm going to snap it off to make it short enough. It looks like if this was just 3/4 of an inch shorter, I'd be able to fit it under there. So let's go inside and let's make those L brackets and come back out. So here's a spare 5/32 drill bit, and it's put in the vise. I'm just going to chop off most of it. A good length so that I'll be able to reach in there. So I've got some steel here, and I want my L brackets to be 2 inches on one side and 1.5 inches on the other, so it's a total of 3.5 inches long. So there's 3.5 inches. And I'm going to want 2 of them, and I think I want them to be, I guess, 3 inches wide. So that means I need 6. So I want it to be 6 inches square. Just here. So here's 3 inches, and here's 6 inches right there. So I just need to cut those, cut it with a grinder. Clamp it down. So I'll pick the other one up and I'll take them over and just clean them up on the bandsaw, on the sander, and then we can go in and bend them. So I'm going to measure them. So I want it to be bent at 1.5 inches from one end. And it doesn't matter exactly where it's cut, where it's bent, but roughly there. One. and there's the other. So this is 1.5. This is the 2-inch side. So here's my brake. I used to have a cheap Harbor Freight one, but it was a pain to use, so I finally put up the money and got this one. So you just have to line it up with the line. And okay, so it's clamped down. That clamps this edge down. And I grab these handles, pick it up. Get it about 90, open up there. And we've got our nice sturdy brackets. So we'll take those out. I'll get them drilled. And then we'll go back to the RV and see if we can get them installed. So I've made a little change of plans. I'm just going to put one bracket here. And I've got these holes drilled out to 3/16 because I don't want the screw to catch on the metal at all. I just want it to go right into the wood. For screws, they need to be long enough to go in and anchor well into the bamboo, but I don't want them to go anywhere near the surface. So I've got these 3/4 inch lath screws. I think that'll be perfect. So for the ones going in here, I can use my regular drill bit. So let's get that, and I've already drilled the holes here off camera. So let's get these started. One. That one's in. So that one's right there. Get the second one started. So then they're good and firm. So now I need to drill up, but I've already drilled those holes. So now I'm drilling up through these two holes into the wood. I've got my ultra short bit. It should be about 3/4 of an inch, so that's the right length. There we go. So I got the first hole drilled. Let's see if we can get a screw in there. Well, let's drill the other hole first. So, here we go. So that's in. Screw holes in, so let's see if these will go in. Looks about right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I've got a very short drill bit just to put in there. Okay, so that should work. Okay, there it goes. That's in. That's in. Yep. So that's good and solid. It's not going to go anywhere. So this clamp here, I'm going to end up putting underneath back here. And I don't know if I'll be able to show it to you because I'll have to crawl into this drawer here and get it mounted, but it'll be essentially set up like this, but underneath the counter. So before I put in these two brackets, there's one here. It's attaching the side panel here to the counter, and I've got another one way back here. It's also attaching the back of the counter to the side panel. So that's pretty good for this side. But I need to get some attachments on either side of the microwave. And as I go over to where the sink is, I need to get some attachments, the side, the back, and maybe the front of the sink for the counter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sink out, and the sink's easy because the faucet isn't connected to the sink. So all I have to do is disconnect the drain to the sink, and I can pull the sink right out. I just have to disconnect the drain. So I should be able to just pull this right out. Okay, so I can get everything I need to from here. The front edge is going to be a little more problematic, mostly because there's not a lot of room here. If you look here, I've got a spacer block that I put in, and I can just screw straight up here. So here I can put a screw, and here I can put in a screw. So that's just 2 screws. That's easy. There's a piece of wood I put along to support the back, and I might just be able to screw straight up. So like a 2-inch screw, I could just drill straight up and get the back fastened, so I really don't need any brackets there. So I need 2 each of 2.5-inch screws for the back. That'll get me one here and one over here. And here I need a shorter screw, 1.5-inch screws, and I can put one here and one here. I'm trying to figure out an easier way to do this because there's not really room to put in a bracket. Maybe I could fit one here if I made it 1.5 by 1.5. So I'll go in the shop and collect all that stuff and come on back. So I've got the bracket and I've got the double sticky tape to hold it in place while I'm putting it in. So I've got it located, but to get this drill in there, I'm gonna have to move this outlet. It's funny in RVs, everything's in the way of everything else. So I'm gonna have to turn off the power. There, so that's the one. So that's no longer going. Gotta take the box out. So the box is loose, and I'm hoping I can just bring it all the way. Yeah, that'll work. So it's out of the way. So that's about the best viewing angle I can get you. So I've got to drill holes up in here. I don't know if you can see where they are. And those are just going to go in a short way. I want to put screws in. These are those 1/2-inch lathe head screws. So I want to make sure this is down while I drill up. We're definitely working our way through it. So the rest of them are just going to be simple screws going in. But that's good. We got good solid heading here. We'll be in good shape. So I'm going to drill up right through here, and I've got the drill set so it will go into the bamboo but not through it. Put it right about there, angle it a little bit outward. Put it in a screw. So let's get it screwed in there and see how it looks. Okay, that's in there. That's solid. Not all the way in now. So I'm going to put another one here. That's good. Now I've been looking at these again, and I think they're a little bit too long, so I'm going to try to find a slightly smaller screw. So I drilled a test hole here in a scrap, and it looks like that'll be just fine. So again, I want to make sure the bit length is correct. I think this is the same diameter, but we'll test it again. And I want it to go to there. Straight, yeah. So with those washers, it's just the right length. So let's see if I can do something with the camera. So what I want to do is just put a screw up through here. It's got to come straight up. That's going to be hard to do because it won't do any good if it just goes into the wall. But I think I'll be able to get down here and see it better. My arm's long enough, I can do it this way. And these are Torx screws, so I'm going to have to get a different bit. I just hope it goes into the counter and not into the wall. Depends how accurate I was. I think it's in. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. Yep, that did her. So let's drill the other side. Then I can just put the electrical box back in and put the sink back in, and we'll be good to go. The screw with the washers on it. Putting it as far to the right as I can. Yep, that's it. Took. So we're pretty good there. So let's get this box put back in. So first is just to shove this in and get those 4 screws back in. This was so hard to get this all done in the first place. Spent so much time. It was before I started doing YouTubes to get this far. Okay, so that's there. Just have to get this in. Oh yeah. The main thing with this is to get it level. Okay. Then this goes on. The screws are a little long, but it'll work. There, that's all back together. Let's just drop the sink back in. Now, I'm not going to caulk the sink in right now because I may have to take it out again, but I do want to get it up and running because it does work. The water works and the drain works. So that goes on there. I'll drop the sink in, I'll go underneath and fix it. And I made this a tight fit on purpose. There. So just connect the water real quick. Now I grew up in an era when they didn't have plastic fittings, and I have to say plastic drain fittings are the best thing ever invented. Because when I was younger and you had to plumb a sink like this, it was all metal pipe and it was always corroded, impossible to do anything with. So there we go. Well, that about wraps it up. Again, I had no idea how my lack of planning would make what should have been a simple job into such a complicated process. But thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe. Bye.